us. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Matt. Great to see you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's good to see you.
good to get it arranged, and our first interview with a coach. So this is going to be interesting, something a little bit new for us. So yeah, maybe a few different questions that we've not asked before.
Look forward to a good conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with something that we haven't asked before. What qualities do you believe anyone needs to be a good coach, to be anything?
To be a coach, I think really first and foremost, you have to be a teacher. You have to care about people. And I always call myself a teacher first, and then a coach. A coach is someone who's going to be able to take somebody on a journey where they are, wherever you are right now. And I'm going to, a good coach is going to be able to take you on that journey in a place that you as an athlete can't go by yourself. So that journey, the direction of that journey, I think a good coach is going to work with the athlete to figure out where that's going to go, so that the athlete it's a symbiotic relationship where you're working together. But really, the role of that coach is to be the teacher and to kind of set that direction, and say, here's where we're going, here's how we're going to do it. And then, of course, athletes go off track as they push limits, as they hear different ideas, or they want to try different things. And the role of the coach then again is to really bring that athlete back to where they're trying to get to. So first and foremost, that's how I view the big picture of coaching and teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So you would suggest to be, you've got to see yourself as someone who can teach someone and really make them learn how to do something that they might have never done before, and then you can apply the coaching principles, if you like.
Mm-hmm. And I think the other key component to what role or what are the characteristics of good coaches, when you look at really good coaches, they also have a certain age group, a certain level that they work best with. I watch my wife work with U12s and U14s, and I'm always in awe at how she can get them to jump over the moon, and I can barely not lose them as I go on the mountain. She has the ability to connect with that age group, and they're absolutely engaged. I watch other coaches work with U16 women, and they're so good with them. Personally, I connect really well with older male, fist level male athletes and U16 males. It's an easier connection. I love coaching U14s. It's absolutely a joy to work with them, but it's not the easiest place for me. So I think there's this area where athletes connect and coaches connect based on personalities and kind of their methodology of coaching.
Yeah, you say you enjoy working with them. Do you get a big lift sort of thing out of the fact that you've taken them on a path, and then when you see them succeed, is that your adrenaline thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think I take joy in seeing people improve. And that, and my role is really a lot of times is working with coaches, helping coaches get better at coaching. So, I mean, I get the same satisfaction or I would say, enjoyment out of helping people get better at what they're doing. In that same process, I get better. I become a better coach. I become a better teacher. I become a better leader going through that process of helping people learn themselves. So I feel it's a two-way street, always learning.
Yeah. So you're currently working in the project with Apex 2100, I believe, and that work is with more younger athletes. So why did you feel that now was the time to go from having coached some of the best racers in the world ever to almost not drop down a level, but to go to coach younger athletes and see them develop? What was the change there?
Yeah, good question. I really, first and foremost, believe strongly in the project, the Apex 2100 project. Is an international school. to bring athletes together from around the world, and create a program and have created a program where the athletes can pursue high-level education, world-class physical training, athletic development, and ski training all together in a cohesive way. And we're doing that from U12s, U14s, U16s, FIS age, and now even our post-grad program. And the post-grad program has the stepping stones to the World Cup. And we even have athletes in the World Cup. I really believe that there's this opportunity to do things better. And I think Apex is really on that path of being able to bring high-level ski racing, what typically an athlete would do at the national team or the Europa Cup team or a national junior team in Austria or Switzerland, and do that at a younger age within the academy, and do that while maintaining education. So that was the kind of the draw for it. And it's a building project. I love building projects. So it's been a lot of fun, and that's why I chose to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Do you believe that coaching skiers, as you're doing now, is also part of your job sort of thing, to help them on the journey through their life after skiing? Do you think a lot of the things you teach them will benefit them later in years as well?
Absolutely, 100%. The first and foremost for me is loving snow sports for life. That you love the mountains, you love the pursuit of getting better at something. Ski racing is a great medium to have a self mastery, and an approach of where you try something, you fail, you get back up, you do it again, you try to get better at it. There is no end game where it's perfect. There is no end game where you've made it. You're always trying to get better. So the medium of ski racing, to me, is just kind of a metaphor of what life is really about. And I think for me, it's been a lifelong pursuit of just trying to get better. And transferring that to our coaches and to our athletes has been a great joy. One of the things that I'm currently working on this week, why it's been hard to track me down, is learning how to teach self-identity better. Athletes so often have their identity around the results of their sport, or the results, or how they compare to the other people on their team or their competitors. And really, you look at athletes that are successful long-term, year after year, that perform, their identity is about themselves. They've got much more of their self-identity around the pursuit of their personal mastery, or trying to get better at something, or the pursuit of they're going to overcome challenges, the pursuit of constantly learning. And it's not an identity of just, I'm a ski racer and my results are, that's what's most important. We want to look at each individual human, each individual athlete, as much more than that. And how we teach that is one of the things I'm trying to really figure out, how we teach that and scale that to a whole academy, a whole group of athletes, from 10-year-olds all the way up to 25-year-olds.
Yeah, you briefly mentioned there that no matter the level, no matter who you are, I guess, that you're always trying to improve. So when you were working within the US team, and as I said, with some of the best in the world, what were you telling them that you need to improve if they're, winning World Cups?
Yeah. I mean, as soon as you think you're good because you're winning, you're screwed, because your competitors just got beat and they're trying to kick your ass. So as soon as you think you're good enough to just maintain, you're done. And it doesn't matter what in life it is. There's someone else that's gonna, elite level athletics is cutthroat. Okay, it is an absolute grind. And so you're just always figuring out how you're going to get better. So you come down off a race, and whether you win, you got dead last, or you had your personal best day of 15th, you go through the same process. You debrief, you go a quick debrief, what went well, where could we have been better, what can we learn, and the most important is, where are we going to put our effort going forward, and have a clarity. Just, here's where we're going to put our effort going forward, and move forward. Don't dwell on the past. Don't dwell on things you could have done. No mistakes there. No faults. Just learnings. Move forward and be clear, crystal clear, where you're going to put your effort. So, when an athlete, won a Olympic gold medal, you got to be clear where you're going to put your effort going forward. You got to set sometimes new goals. And that's probably the hardest thing, is that, you achieve the goal right away. You have to set a new goal if that's really how you're driven.
When you're saying about debriefing, do you actually get the athletes to criticize themselves, self-appraisement?
Yeah, we'll debrief as a staff, just saying, okay, what did we do well? What could we have done better? What could we have been more precise on? What worked? What we have to make sure to keep doing? What are the things that we're doing that's just wasting time? Get rid of that. Where are we going to put our effort? Have the athletes do the same thing.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because if that's where, the coach and the athlete need to be on the same page, and the serviceman and the physio and the strength coach. At the elite level, you got all these different personnel. They could be pulling the athlete in multiple directions away from the goal, or they can be all pulling in a clear direction. And that debrief moment, those debrief moments is where really what's important. You come together, you look each other in the eye, and they're short, quick, to the point. And you get to the point of where you're going to go and where you're going to put your effort as a group. And in that, each person has a different role. So clarifying those roles is a big one.
You talked there for 10 minutes about the methods and how to improve and everything, but where did those thoughts and methods from you stem from? Was it from just learning on the job, or was it, I don't know, an experience? How did that come about?
Failing a lot. Coming away from races and having been real slow. Going and watching other sports, talking with coaches, reading about other coaches, reading the latest science and learning and team building. Trying and going, that works, that doesn't work. Constantly trying to get better. I wouldn't say there's one thing where you go, oh, this is where I learned it. No chance. It's been a 25-year evolution of coaching. I started coaching very young. And I was fortunate to have some good mentors at a young age to kind of point me on a direction, but I still think I'm learning more today than I did 25 years ago.
Do you think, with that in mind, that you still use some of the methods you used probably 20 years ago? Do you still find them good enough? Or do you feel you've had to evolve with the sport?
Yeah. No, I would say that my education in coaching, my classical education in coaching, I was very fortunate to have the French ski instructor education. On top of that, American sports science education. And a lot of the fundamentals of coaching, the fundamentals of sport, the fundamentals of athletic development haven't changed. And I think as people have tried to get fancier and more technical oriented and more precise, they've forgotten what are the true fundamentals. So I think, I go back to my initial training and say, hey, that really worked. And look, it worked in the 70s, it worked in the 80s, it worked in the 90s, it worked, and it works today. Why change it? So I think a lot of the stuff that you're seeing much more popular around the world in ski racing now, the stuff that I kind of pushed 3, 4, 5 years ago, that's none of that stuff I invented. All that stuff is just coming back from, 80s, 70s, stuff that people were doing.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, you mentioned there about the experience you had working in France as an instructor. So how do you feel that trip, that almost, I guess, time away from, America and the working world, if you like, how did that form the coach and the person you've become?
Yeah, I mean, I think without a doubt, having gone through that ski instructor education, plus actually working at an ESF and ski instructing, you understand the cultural vibe of the sport, and just the joy of skiing, and off-piste skiing and all types of skiing. That formed a big part of who I am today. But I think also being able to teach and never ever how to ski or never ever how to snowboard. and then do that with the kids, and then 2 hours later do it with Israeli military guys that are very proud, and then 2 hours later do it with a grandma who's skied quite a bit but just needs some confidence to get down the mountain. Right there, you learn to adapt your teaching methods and your ability to connect with different people. So I look back on my ski teaching or ski instructing days as a great experience in teaching of, you have to sell yourself and you have to be able to connect with people. So all really important skills that I think I could have transferred to any career.
You just described there the three different circumstances, quite different. So do you feel that there are things for example, motivation that you need to use across all three of those that are vital in, as you say, whatever you do?
I mean, I think the motivations are very being able to understand people and understand where they are. If you're going to take them on this journey as a coach, right, you're going to take them on this journey. The first step is to understand where they are. And that takes listening, active listening, to understand, you as an athlete, you as a client. And I think that's most important. Assuming this is where you want to go is where, you work, and all of a sudden you go, well, you're not putting in the same effort or you're not doing the same things. That's where usually things go south. But if you're clear with, you take the time to really understand, listen to understand, and understand where the athlete is or the family. Many times it's the family, right? It's the family that's on this journey. Understand where they are and try to meet them where they are and say, okay, this is where we can help. And sometimes you can't, and just being honest with people saying, hey, this is the place that we're not ready to go. And then as a coach, saying out clear expectations of what is possible, what's not possible, or what you want to see in terms of effort or execution.
Well, okay. As I've already said a couple of times now, you've worked with some of the best ski racers of all time, Bodie Miller and Ted Ligety. So what is it like at a World Cup race as a coach where you're sort of maybe at the side of the race or even at the bottom? What are you looking for in their run to say, well, you need to do that in the second run, or you don't need to do that in the second run?
I mean, hopefully you've done all the work in training and you've prepared them with a wide variety of abilities. And, really on race day or on competition day, it's letting the athlete express themselves freely. So I'm not trying to put too much in their head or not putting, trying to distract them so that they're not putting too much in their head. That in race day, it's all about letting the subconscious take over, let the athlete's skills and decision making. If they're prepared, they're going to be able to let that come out. So really letting the athlete express themselves freely. Probably the biggest mistakes coaches make, and I've made many, many times, is, you say, don't do this or do this, really focus on this. And that's where they put their attention and they don't express themselves freely. So they don't race fast. They don't ski freely. So, what am I looking for is athletes express themselves freely, enjoying that, having fun doing that. And as a coach, you got to be able to read where they are and see if they're too tight or they're too loose or too far off their own places. Help them get back to that where they race best. So I mean, Ted was he needed to be a fighter. He had to be going for it. He was the kind of guy that if he was a little bit behind, it was always a great situation because he had to go for the win. He had to be aggressive. That's where he did best. If he was way ahead, it was the only time. The only time I think I was really nervous was when he won the run in Alta Badia by 2.75 seconds. And I went, oh God, he's going to put the brakes on it. And he did. And he made two big mistakes. And then he realized he made two big mistakes. And then from that on point, he just put the hammer down and skied free to catch up. And I knew at that moment, I totally relaxed because I was like, he'll be fine. He's going to be great. Bodie was, when he just focused on, doing his freedom and just, charging down a mountain as hard as he could and not worried about a result or not worried about anything like that, he did amazing. Where he struggles when all of a sudden it was like, a result, he wanted a certain result. And then all of a sudden the focus got shifted to that. Didn't happen often for Bodie, but when it did, you could see it, and the people that were close to him knew it.
Do you go through all the emotions yourself when you're watching your athletes doing all this? Do you actually go through, what would I have done? Or
No,
when you actually, yeah,
I don't think you put yourself in their shoes in the sense of what I would have done if I was them. I
no,
wouldn't say that at all. But I would say that, you experience the highs and lows with the athletes. And again, goes back to, again, self-identity as a coach. Where's your identity? Is it on the results of your athletes, or is it on the effort you're putting in for them to get better? And, I think a much healthier way to be a coach is, identify yourself and be proud of the effort you're putting in to help them get better. And I look back on the days that we got our ass handed as a team, where you didn't score a World Cup point, or, or you didn't get anybody in the second round. And those were the moments that I had to step up as a leader. And I cherished those moments. They weren't easy, but I look back on those moments, and those are the moments that I'm proud of.
As a coach, do you think it's important that racers get the podiums or get the victories, or enjoy the journey from top to bottom, regardless of what position they've achieved?
I mean, it's a balance. It's a balance. I mean, I think, we're in elite sport, you're in it to win, right? And this is the big challenge is clearly,
Course,
money, fame, longevity, how long you can do the sport, how much, everything. It's about winning. So we can't hide from the fact is that, hey, you have to win. And if you lose too much, you're not going to progress. You're not going to have the career that you want to be able to maintain. But the problem is in order to do the winning, you can't be focused on it. You got to be focused on the process. And that's the key is being process driven, focus on the process of where you're going to put your effort. Now, certain athletes' motivation comes much more from the outcome. And as a coach, as a program, you have to play with that. Other athletes, their motivation doesn't come from that. Their motivation comes from personal best or mastery. Michaela Shiffrin, everybody says, oh, she wants to win. I really believe Michaela Shiffrin, she just wants to master the turn, to make the perfect turn over and over and over again. And she is clearly in that sense. And she surprises herself when she wins by a lot. And, when she gets her butt kicked, she's also surprised. She's like, okay, that didn't work. And then she goes and tries to master the turn even more. And she, drives that in. Where, Ted Ligety was the guy that, he hated to lose, and he wanted to win and make sure he won. And he was gonna do whatever he could to make sure he wins. Very different motivators in that sense, but both tremendously successful.
This has been an interesting question. What is your favorite discipline to coach?
I would say probably slalom. And the reason that is you can take a great athlete who's not necessarily a great skier, and you can make him into a damn good slalom skier. If you do the right things, you expose them to the right environments, you can make a hell of a slalom skier with a good athlete, a motivated athlete. If they have mental toughness, the ability to move forward, they can be really, really good. GS, I've been a GS coach most of my career, and GS is a harder one to coach because it's so much more about rhythm and timing. And rhythm and timing is such a hard thing to teach. We don't have a good vocabulary for it, and it's such an internal feeling thing. So rhythm and timing there's a technical component to GS which you can teach many people to do it, but they won't be fast. To be fast in GS, it's tactics and then rhythm and timing. But rhythm and timing plays such a more greater importance role compared to slalom in GS. So that's why you have great skiers, great fundamental skiers, great skiers. They're just not fast in GS. They don't have the feeling for that rhythm and timing of the turn. Speed, I love coaching speed to kids because it's so much fun. If you take them through the right progression and speed, it's safe. You do it step by step by step. They're scared out of their minds at the beginning. They're white as ghosts. And by the end of the day, they're all loving it. And they're so enthusiastic to do the next day. That is just so much fun. So coaching speed to kids, to young FIS athletes, or even, like Europe Cup level fit, or let's say FIS level athletes is it's just such a joy. Once you get into the World Cup speed world, it's about venue preparation and really staying calm. It's a completely different game. It's really about the venue you've prepared and finding the right training and coordinating a very, it's almost like military systematic system of training speed. I've spent a lot of time doing it. I wouldn't say it's the most fun for me as a coach, where other coaches absolutely just get, through the moon and love it. Building a speed track, I almost like that more. So,
So what you just said, do you actually have to prepare the athlete specifically for a course? Well, obviously all the mountains you're going to be skiing on. Do you have certain methods to prepare them ready for that run?
So, I mean, we're talking about World Cup.
Yeah, sorry.
So in World Cup, really, you look at successful coaches, and there's not many successful speed coaches out there, really, year after year, successful speed coaches. And you look at their style of coaching, and you can tell where their athletes are going to be fast. So they prepare their athletes, and they prepare their athletes in the skill set environments that they're fast in certain situations, certain hills, certain situations. One of the things that I looking back on it, I think is important, is that each athlete has their strengths, their mojo, where they find their confidence. And some athletes, that's in glide turns and fast glide turns, and other athletes, it's competing in GS and being competitive in GS. And both of those, when you look at the skill sets and when the environments are very, very, very different, but it has to do with the athlete, which one, where they get their vibe from, where they get their confidence from, where they get their where they get aroused and excited about getting better. And one of them, it's that glide section, and the other one's going to get bored and not get better, and the other one's going to be, skiing gnarly technical GS on injection. And I think the key, if the really good coaches understand that, and they will create the different environments and situations for athletes to have those opportunities.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm not sure how to say this. Would you be able to watch someone's run that you've never worked with and identify why they've been so good? For example, could you look at Sarazan this season and say, yeah, that's the reason that he's produced all these fantastic results?
Yes, Sarazan's got years and years and years of beating himself up, being a great World Cup GS skier, tried to be a great World Cup GS skier. That rhythm and timing just didn't match with him. And then he finally went into World Cup downhill, and they said, we're not going to talk to you about technique. We're not going to talk to you about tactics. We're not just going to let you ski and be free and find your confidence. And all of a sudden, his rhythm and timing with all his technical bags and toolkits that he has matched up.
Yeah,
that's it.
Do you think? Sort of been silenced there.
Very good.
Do you think there are a number of races out there that are like that, or is it just a select few percentage?
No, I think there's a lot of racers out there that
just need to be freed
or find a way to find the confidence to go. And so much of the sport is technical oriented, and you have to do this here and do this here and do that here now, that you're not free. And I think, when athletes, feel the confidence to do that, and they have the physical ability, the mental ability, and the technical ability, they're able to do far more than they think they can. And this is every athlete. Doesn't matter if you're talking about a U12 or a World Cup skier. Every athlete I've worked with is able to do far more than they think they can.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting, though.
Yeah.
So with a good coach, more or less anyone could improve what they thought their outcome was going to be, if they have a good coach.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have athletes that are crazy unrealistic,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
Tell me.
but
Sorry.
taking an athlete, they're completely unrealistic. But without that coach, they won't get there. And sometimes a coach can actually help them get farther than that. Sometimes, and many times, a coach is actually going to hinder them from getting there.
Yeah. So if someone came to you and said, "I want to do this," is it then up to you to work out a pathway for them to get as good as they can at what they want to do? Is that
when I've done a good job? Yeah, that's what we've done. But I haven't done that every time.
It might be not your fault necessarily, though.
I mean, I there's one athlete that was, top 35 in the world in GS, and he was about 150 in the world in slalom, or maybe even higher than that. And he said he wanted to be a World Cup slalom skier and didn't want to ski GS anymore. And I was just like, pulled my hair out. I didn't help him. I didn't help him get better at that, what he wanted to. But I think that's where, again, it's listening to understand and understand why.
Yeah.
Which is what I've learned over the years.
So with this current work that you're doing now, do you feel that for you personally, that this is going to be it until you retire, or in the future, could you see yourself getting back involved with the US team?
I'm a young guy.
You are.
I got young kids. I got some early kids. I don't plan to retire anytime soon. And we're taking a couple of years at a time. Right now, I'm absolutely 100% focused on building Apex, building this pro team for the PG program, building up our FIS program so that we're more robust, helping athletes from around the world achieve what they're wanting to achieve, and helping these athletes get into great universities, and continue ski racing while they're in university so they can progress to national teams after or directly on the national team. So there's many routes, and I'm currently enjoying what I'm doing. How long? We'll have to see.
So with this current project, which is obviously a very big deal and could be extremely beneficial for young racers, how far do you actually take them? Is it a case of sort of we'll see you out for as long as you want, or is it now you're with the national team, you can sort of do it by yourself and use them?
Every athlete, every family is on an individual, unique journey. And that journey is a lot of times, sometimes in their control, and many times it's not in their control. So, for example, Flavio Vital, who was clearly one of the best juniors in the world beginning of last year, normally would have gone on to a French national junior team. France didn't have a national junior team because of budget cuts. So we kept his program going, and we worked with the French national team to help him get ready for Europa Cups and support him through the Europa Cup Tour and World Juniors, but in collaboration with the French Europa Cup team. Now he's graduated. He's at a level where he is clearly one of the best Europa Cup skiers in GS, and is clearly stepping onto the World Cup. So he's on the World Cup team with France. That's when we fully hand him off and say, we are here to support you. If you ever need anything, come back and train with us, and he'll do some stuff. But he's managed by the national team. Where an athlete like Jenny Germain, who's with Latvia, doesn't have a national team to go to. So we are supporting that national team, that national team structure with coaches and service and physio and strength conditioning coaches. And we're supporting her, and we will be her home for maybe her whole entire career. And there's other athletes like Zita Toth from Hungary, who's on the Europa Cup team, who potentially is going to be in that same boat. But then we have an athlete like Kendall Rufa, who won a NORAM title last year. But she's at the age where she doesn't make the US ski team criteria. But she's going to be able to have access to World Cup. But since she's not on the radar, the band for the national US ski team, she'll be part of our Europa Cup team. Where a guy like Toby Jennings from the UK, graduate of Apex, didn't quite have the level to make the college team that he wanted to, so he PG'd for 1 year. Worked with the Middlebury College to get, know where he had to get to. Got his ranks to where he's going to be able to be on the college team, and he's going to race for Middlebury next year. So we're, and he's going off to a great education and a great team. College is a great, amazing opportunity for athletes to ski, continue the skiing, race NORAMs, get an education, physically, mentally, emotionally, socially develop. But they don't have enough summer training. The college athletes don't get enough summer training. So Toby's doing some summer training with us and programs that we've helped him partnered with. So those are each one of those is a different, very, very different situation, and we're here to support and help athletes on that journey.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, I think that it sounds like a very good project, and there's obviously, going all the way to U12s, as you've said, to World Cup races like Jermaine is really great, and I think that it could be something that we see more and more athletes rely on in the future, don't you think? With much more abstract nations finding themselves in great positions in the sport.
I mean, I think, the costs are going up, and NGBs are having less and less money, and the costs are going up. But at the same time, there's still tremendous enthusiasm and energy and love and passion for ski racing. So, those athletes still need a ladder to climb through and stepping stones to go through. And Apex's vision is to be those stepping stones, no matter where you are on that tour. We hope to be able to work with athletes that are younger, because we can help, create a better vocabulary, a larger vocabulary of skills and fundamentals and characteristics. And that's our hope is to work with, especially, UK athletes. That's why we have a U12 program and U14 programs, to help those athletes get the same volumes that their competitors are getting in Switzerland and Austria and France and Italy, and Norway. I mean, the volume of skiing, the time under load of training is important. And so we're trying to, our program absolutely gives those same volumes to athletes from, doesn't matter if you're Greece or UK or New Zealand or United States, you get the same volume and get the same competitive environment together with your peers, which is what we've been able to put together in a fun way.
Yeah, good. Go
on. Yeah, it's really good. I feel like this is something that I've got to ask, really. That, are you working with any athletes currently that you believe could make it to the very top of the sport?
Absolutely. I've been very fortunate to work with many athletes from young ages through, and I've got enthusiasm and belief in many athletes that we have in our programming at all levels. And ultimately it comes down to the athlete. Are they willing to continually put in the work day in and day out, give that 100% effort, and are they doing it for themselves? Are they intrinsically motivated to it? In America, we call it heart. Old football coaches called it heart, something you can't teach, and that's intrinsic motivation and an unquenchable work ethic. And I see athletes having that heart, and if they can maintain that heart and love, they're going to make it far in the sport. And there's many that I really believe can go far, but it's up to them to put that effort in, and we're going to be there to help support them along that way.
Can I? I'm going to ask you this anyway. You might not want to answer it, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Why is Michaela Shiffrin so good? I've been watching her since she started, and she amazes me every time she gets on the slope. And what is it about Michaela puts her up there?
Well, I'll give my best to answer it. Someone who's watched her for a long time, just besides watching her for a long time closely by. At a young age, she was fundamentally extremely good skier. She had a huge volume of skiing at a young age. Her parents brought her to Europe, brought her to different camps, coached her. She got a big volume of skiing, and she was coached with really good fundamentals. And she's maintained that kind of inquisitive nature of just trying to make the perfect turn. She's intrinsically motivated in that sense. She's got huge heart to put in that effort every single day. I mean, you go to a training session with Michaela, and she'll do 12 runs a day. And she'll just, every run, she's working to get better, and focused. So her effort, her intensity of effort, and her ability to sustain that effort day in and day out, long sessions, is remarkable. So she is, unbelievably hard worker, and just clearly focused on minute things of how fundamentally how I'm going to get better at skiing. And she's inquisitive. She used to sit down with me and she'd ask about how to make a better GS turn, and she'd go talk to Ted, and she'd go talk to Bodie, and she'd talk to Forrest Carey, and and she continues to do that. She's always trying to learn from other people. So in terms of someone who's truly a master of their craft, she is. And it's been a long project, a family project since a very young age, and that she's maintained the motivation and enthusiasm for it. Is when she retires, I plan to buy her lunch, and that's going to be my question to her. Is how did you keep your obsession for as long as you have? Because it's remarkable.
Because I'll be quite honest, if I'd never seen skiing before, and I happened to turn on the television and Michaela Shiffrin were coming down on a slalom run, I would say, that's what I want to do, like that. It's skis never leave the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else who might get times better than her, fly through the air, she never leaves the snow. She's got so much, I don't know. He gets fed up with me going on about her, don't he?
No.
But she is just phenomenal, I think. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. No, she's a phenomenal skier without a doubt.
Yeah.
Is she the best ever?
In women's ski racing, I would say absolutely. Absolutely. From a wins perspective, it's measured. From a length of enthusiasm of being dominant year after year, without a doubt. Having had setbacks, failures, and found her way back to the top. Yeah. Amazing. She's been lucky she hasn't had major injuries. So that's been a factor. But part of the reason why she hasn't had major injuries is she works her butt off physically. So she's very well balanced physically. And then the last part of that is she's adamant about her nutrition and her her tracking of where she's at energy wise, and she adapts her programming so she never gets too far drained down, and she controls her media appearances to make sure that she has the energy. So those lead to performance, but also leads to injury, reduce of injuries.
Yeah, good.
I'm quite interested to hear actually where do you think that she continues to find that motivation from? Because to me, she's done everything in the sport, so there's absolutely nothing for her to prove, but she continues and she still scores wins and medals. So where's it coming from?
I mean, I'm going to go back to this intrinsic, her goal is to make the best turn possible. And she's constantly trying to make that tournament better. And there's no, in her mind, I don't think there is perfection. It's just trying to seek that. Now I'm it's not me. You got to ask her. But that's from watching her for many years. That's what I would say is her greatest strength is she's not fixated on the outcome. She's fixated on trying to get better, and she loves trying to get better. And I think her downfall at the Olympics in the last Olympics was, I think all of a sudden there was a lot of pressure that she felt, and it was all of a sudden it was about the outcome, and she hadn't been in that situation where she had to all of a sudden deal with really those situations, and all of a sudden the snow was different, this equipment was different, the vibe was different, and all of a sudden nothing felt right. But I'm sure she's learned a lot from it, and she'll come back a lot stronger, and she has.
Yeah. I'm going to move to the slightly altered quick fire questions. Not quite the same as they would be with a ski racer. But I am actually going to start with, do you wish you were a ski racer rather than a coach?
No, physically, I like to be able to run around and walk and play at my young 40s ages. And no, I'm happy to be doing what I'm doing right now.
Okay. So, yeah, I think I would have to agree. Where is your favorite place to ski?
Oh man, Snowbird Alta on a powder day in Utah.
Nice.
Val d'Isere on a bluebird day is amazing when it's safe to ski off piste. It's amazing. I mean, those two are there. And then I'd just say, if you're touring the Dolomites and doing the Celeranda or skiing around Cortina and eating good food and good company is always an amazing time. So those would be my three places.
Yeah, good shouts. What do you regard as the best moment of your career?
Oh, I can't answer that question.
Too many.
Yeah, I can't answer that question.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, there must be a few to choose from.
Yeah,
so
there's a bunch to choose from, but I'd say, I would say that the Olympic medals were always great, and very proud moments, and being part of that, what athletes succeeded there. But then world championships and Ted winning 3 golds in Schladming, those were amazing moments. But again, I would say the moments that I cherish most are those days where we were out watering and injecting for 15 hours straight in Oahu, New Zealand, where nobody knew where Oahu was, but we made a World Cup GS trail, and the relationships we built with the people down there. Those are moments that I really cherish, and I look forward to having more of those in the future.
Yeah, good. Okay, who is your best friend in the sport?
Forrest Carey. I mean, we get on the phone, we can't stop talking about ski racing and what people are doing to ski faster. So we've been challenging each other, and we continue to do it on a regular basis.
Yeah. One person you wish you could have coached, or might coach, or want to coach in the future?
I would love to coach Broughton.
Yeah.
Lucas is he's a absolute creative, free-spirited individual who could do some amazing things in the sport. I mean, he's been great, but he could be really amazing. And I see where his frustrations are from afar. I don't know him well, but I see where his frustrations are and his challenges are. And I think if you could kind of work with him in the right way, you could go really, really far. He could go really far and do some amazing things. And I think it would be the sport needs people like him to bring enthusiasm and energy and fun. So that's who I would, I'd love to work with. And my friends that are working with him, I'm jealous, but at the same time, I'm stoked that they're my friends that are working with him.
Good.
Was there someone or something specific that made you want to be a coach?
I had a great coach in high school, or even before high school. I played football, I played lacrosse, and I had some amazing coaches. And I looked up to them. And I if you would have told me I was going to ski coach or football or lacrosse, I probably would have said lacrosse. And then I had in senior year of high school, I had a great coach, Coach LaValle, and he paid for my first coach's education. And he said, "Hey, let's go this route." And I ventured down the road of coaching. So that's how I got into it.
Yeah. Okay. What is your aspiration for, let's say, the project with Apex?
The aspiration is to clearly create the best academy in the world, sport academy in the world. That's a global academy that's recognized around the world and that has bases around the world, where athletes can go to different places to get different type of training, different experiences, that could come in for short periods of time and then go home to their home projects, because home is important as well. And that we are regarded as a model of how athletes should progress through sport. And it's not just ski racing when I say sport.
Yeah. Very good.
And finally, one thing you would change about FIS?
I think, you know, FIS is a really challenging organization that's been built by federations. It's extremely political, and everybody wants to protect their own whatever they have right now. And everybody has a little piece, and everybody's so worried about protecting that little piece because they're worried they'll lose. And because of that, it doesn't progress forward. So in order to really progress the sport at the elite level, one would need to go more towards a private equity, private system, where you have a chief executive officer who makes decisions, and those decisions are a betterment of the sport, not necessarily betterment of each individual nation.
Very good.
But FIS has been a very well established luck organization. And I commend people that give their effort, and I gave my effort there for a long time as well, to try to keep making it better in small incremental pieces. And I commend those people that are there. But to make it better, that's what it would require.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I think that is it.
That's it. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Really, really great hearing from you, and glad we could get it arranged.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for the opportunity. Have yourself a great rest of your day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You too.
And thank you so much. Really interesting. Really interesting.
Yeah.